I
And I'm
don't.
crossing my fingers that my dogs don't bark for you guys. We just got back from a walk too, so hopefully they'll stay laying low.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. And this is our Green Dialogue every Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Next week, I believe John Sarver is going to talk about new legislation which affects homeowner associations' ability to control building improvements like solar. And so put that on your radar. Anything you want to add or subtract from what I said, John? Okay, well, today we've got Alexa Hecksel, who's the owner of a business in Rio Town, and she's been with us before, and she'll be at the Green Fair on Saturday. Hopefully, we had one cancellation, but I'm hoping you can make it, Alexa. We still have
Oh, we're planning on being there.
wonderful. Um, so, of course, the challenge of plastics has not gone away since we last spoke, but we're hoping to get an update on how things are going with you. You had just started your business, I think, last time we chatted. And this is a pretty informal gathering, but we're looking forward to an update from you, and then we can open it up to dialogue.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds great. Nice to meet you guys all again. My name is Alexa. I own Clean Refillery, which is an eco-friendly refill shop over in Rio Town in Lansing. The whole goal of Clean Refillery is to help the greater Lansing community reduce single-use plastic waste. And we do that by offering refills of products. So when you go to the grocery store and you need, let's say, laundry detergent, you walk up to the shelf, grab the big container and take it home. Well, instead of doing that, you can bring that empty container to us and we refill it. So we sell products by weight. So you won't see a set price, and that also kind of allows us to cater to all budgets. So you can get as much or as little product as you need. You never have to fill anything up all the way. But the kinds of things that we sell are items that I was having a hard time finding in stores, especially since you guys have now lost Foods for Living, which is such a bummer for the community because that was such a great resource. So there in places like Horrocks, you're able to buy food, spices, other things like that without waste. You could bring your own container, tear it out. And then also, I'm sure a lot of you know about it, but the food co-op over on the east side of Lansing does have bulk spices, things like that, if you're looking for a new place to be able to refill those things. That is not too far away from you. But I was able to find those things pretty easily when I began reducing my waste, but I was really struggling with home care products, so things like laundry detergent, cleaning supplies, and personal care items like shampoo, conditioner, laundry detergent is not a personal care item, but like body lotion. So during the pandemic, I kind of had time to sit down and think about reducing my waste even further because there was such an influx of new plastic use. We were using takeout containers for everything. Everything had to be new because we thought that that was clean. So I decided we needed a place to be able to refill instead. So we opened up Clean Refillery and we started out with milkman style deliveries around the greater Lansing area. So people would leave their empty container out. We'd trade it with a full clean container and just continue that process. And now we actually have a storefront over in Rio Town where you can come with your containers and refill. So yeah, our whole goal is to help people reuse rather than buy new products. And it's kind of part of that cycle of reduce, reuse, recycle. We try to help people fill in the reduce and reuse because the best thing that you can do is use the things that you already have. And that's what we encourage every customer to do when they come in is if they have, let's say, Windex at home that they're trying to finish before they purchase new glass cleaner from us, we want to encourage that because rather than making the sale, our goal is to help people move towards that greener lifestyle. And then part of that with reusing too is you can bring containers that you already have. I've had so many people come with containers that they said has been in their aunt's garage for 20 years and filling that up with dish soap. And some of those older containers are just so much fun to see. Like they just don't make them like that anymore. And those items are made to last. So the emphasis that our society has on single use. Things aren't actually single use. Lots of things can be used over and over and over again. And those containers, that the Tupperware that's been somebody's been keeping as in the refrigerator for ages, or you've got people coming in with the old cottage cheese containers to refill with Epsom salt. Those are considered single use by our society, but they're not actually. So we really want to help put emphasis on that and encourage people to continue to reuse what they already have before purchasing a more permanent option as well. So we do have recyclable containers that are available for purchase when people are ready to upgrade that 5-year-old Bath and Body Works soap pump to something a little bit nicer and long-term that looks good in their home as well. So in the last few years, as Leroy said, we started out a couple years ago when I was talking to y'all. We were pretty new, and we're, I think, going into year 4 right now. So since then, we've been able to expand from our delivery service to also our storefront, and we're also available at the Allen Farmers Market every week too. So we'll kind of bring our little setup there, and it's a more abbreviated setup than what we have in the shop, but we can have people bringing their containers there, and that's allowed us to reach even further out into the community. And we've also started up small business subscriptions. So small businesses who are hoping to reduce their waste can set up a subscription with us. And on a monthly basis or whatever basis they need, we deliver mostly cleaning supply products to them. And something that's really exciting about our cleaning supplies as well is that it's made over in Hazlitt near you guys by Fresh Coast Clean. So we work with a lot of local vendors to try to reduce the footprint of our product too, how far it has to travel, because that's another factor in sustainability is where is your product coming from? And another reason why we want to work with farmers markets, we want to work with small local vendors, keep things close to home, because we also want to support the economy that supports us, our local economy.
Wow, that was a mouthful.
Yeah,
Um,
kind of a long intro, but
no, that was great. What questions or issues do people have?
I've always wondered, I need to come over. I've always wondered, how does it work in terms of like shampoo and like dish detergent? And like, do you have one variety? How does that work in terms of what, how many options you have to come and get some of something?
yeah. So for most of our items, we have a pretty small selection for a couple of reasons. We're in a pretty tiny space. And then again, we're trying to support those local vendors. And then being a small business, we have a pretty tight budget as well. So we have different scents available for our shampoos, and then we have shampoo bars as well. So those are from different vendors. We have the liquid shampoo and conditioner refills. And I believe we have 4 different scents of those. And then we also have a shampoo bar, which is essentially taking all of the water out of the shampoo so that you have like a solid soap bar that's specifically formulated for hair. You just wet your hair and rub that on it. So we have a few options for like shampoo. And then for laundry detergent, we do only work with Fresh Coast Clean for our liquid laundry detergent, but we work with another Midwest vendor who makes essentially a shampoo bar of laundry detergent. It's a concentrate bar that you kind of cut up and then you put it in with hot water and it mixes together, and it's a super concentrated 1 tablespoon per load laundry detergent. So for most of our items, we have a pretty slim selection, but they're all products that I have tested out and tried. So there's nothing in there that has been put in the shop that hasn't passed my test. I'm not going to put something in there that just to make the money or just to sell to people because it's a good profit. I want it to be products that work.
And you'll have a chance to buy some at the Green Fair this Saturday between 9 and 1. Do people have to bring their own container, or do you recommend them bringing their own container? And if so, what types of containers might you suggest?
Yeah, I always recommend bringing your own container if you have one at home that's easy to use. But we do have some containers available. We have a community cart in the store and we bring a portion of that with us. And the community cart is just containers that have been donated by other community members. And they're clean, dry, odorless containers. That's what we ask for. And we run them through our dishwasher. And that's just a way that people can drop those off rather than recycling. So we'll have some of those available, but I always recommend bringing in your own container from home, especially if you're a little picky about the kind of dispenser you want or just wanting to know exactly where it came from. We will refill essentially any container. Yeah, you could, but if you're looking to just try something out for the first time, I recommend bringing a smaller one, and you never have to fill anything up all the way. So if you just want to get enough laundry detergent for a couple of loads, try it out, see if you like it, that's perfectly fine. You can bring a small container, or even if you brought a big one with you, we'll just fill it up that amount.
Cool. And when is if people can't make it Saturday, when is the Allen Market?
Yeah, so the Allen Farmers Market is on Wednesdays, and that usually runs from 3 o'clock until this week it's going to go till 7 because they're having the kids fair, but most weeks it goes until 6:30 p.m.
So you'll be there today?
Yes, we will. Yeah, it's Wednesday. Thank you. We have some awesome team members that help me split up the duties too. So I have some people who run over there for me and do that market.
Awesome. We recently had a speaker talk about household hazardous waste and the Ingham County drop off at South Cedar. It's not far down the road from Rio Town. Have you ever connected with them? I'm sure if people have extra chemicals that they want to dispose of, that's a good option on Tuesday and Thursday. But one thing they mentioned is that they often have extra usable stuff. It's probably not the exact same market as you're in, but I'm sure people bring in cleaners and detergents and along with paints and pesticides and other stuff. Have you talked with them at all about any synergies there?
No, we haven't gotten the opportunity to connect yet. I do see the stuff that they put out on social media, and whenever they have a special drop off, I'll share that with our customers because a lot of people just don't know that there are options for those harder to recycle and items that we shouldn't really be putting into our waterways or our garbage. So I try to put that information out there as much as possible as well, but that would be a good resource for us to connect up with.
Jessica Franstead spoke, and she's very enthusiastic, and she's sort of newly in charge over there. And I think she would enjoy chatting with you and maybe learning about your business as well. But
Definitely. Yeah, I'm going to take a note to connect with them. And then I see a message in the chat from Bruce. Do you have unscented options? We have a whole collection of unscented items because I know a lot of people have sensitive skin, maybe don't like certain scents. So we have unscented laundry detergent, Castile soap, shampoo, conditioner, body wash, face cleanser, a lot of those because we do want to cater to people who also have allergies or sensitivities. And then if you're curious too, we do have a website, and on our website, you can always see what's in stock, what's out of stock. We have our unscented items categorized on the side too. So if you throw a filter on it, you can kind of see which items are unscented. And then something really cool that I want to mention as well, we kind of work towards having a circular economy at Clean Refillery. So within our customers, we're trying to create a circular economy where we're not throwing away or recycling products. But I mentioned Fresh Coast Clean over in Hazlet, and they make our laundry detergent, dish soap, cleaning concentrate, most of our cleaning items. And the way we work with them, since they're local, is when we run out of a product, we give them the empty container that they started with us. And then they take that empty container back, clean, sanitize it, and refill it. So we're continuing to create that circular economy with our products outside of our customer interaction. So continuing to reduce that waste. And then also with like our shampoo and conditioner, we get that from Canada. We try to keep things local, but of course, you have to reach a little further outside of your community sometimes, and Canada is right next to us. So they send us the shampoo and conditioner and body lotion in bags inside of a box. And then we refill our hard plastic containers in the shop from those bags and send the bags back to them. So it's kind of a neat way of continuing that sustainable option and practicing what we preach.
Very cool. How did you get started in this, Alexa? Can you remind us?
Yeah, for sure. Um, so back in 2018, I had taken some time away from school. I'm 27 years old, so I started this when I was 23. But in 2018, I took some time away from school because my dad had gotten sick. He had pancreatic cancer. And I was kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I had initially been going to school to hopefully be a physician, and I realized very quickly, spending a lot of time in hospitals with my dad, that that would not be for me. So um, after he passed away, I spent a lot of time thinking about what I wanted my mission to be. His mission in life, especially towards the end, was to point out the invisible people in our lives. So the people that we see every single day, but we don't get the chance to interact with, or we don't think to. So toll workers, drive-through workers, the people who are essential to everyday life, mail delivery people, but we don't take the time to talk to them. So he really wanted to take time to chat with them, point out their importance. And we all have different versions of invisible people in our life. And for me, I was like, okay, who are the invisible people? Who are the people I need to be reaching out to and looking to support? And I started thinking more about the people who make our clothes, the people who make the products that we use every day, and the work conditions that they are in. So a lot of the people who are making our clothes aren't getting a living wage. They're not in safe environments. Same for the people who make our cleaning supplies. And I decided I needed to start working towards reducing my consumption in general. So I wanted to reduce the amount of clothing I was buying, especially the clothing I was buying new. So trying to buy thrifted clothing instead. And looking at the products I was bringing into my home, my dad had had cancer, and we realized it wasn't a genetic thing. It was environmental. He had been a firefighter and spent a lot of time around things that shouldn't be burning. So I was like, okay, I'd really like to reduce the toxic products in my home. And there wasn't really an intersection for those two things, as I mentioned. Like I could get my food with less waste. I could get fresh produce. I could get meat wrapped in paper instead of plastic, but I couldn't get my shampoo, my conditioner, my laundry detergent without that. So I started looking at local vendors who were doing lower toxicity products. And I figured, okay, if nobody else is going to do this, I can do it. I have the time, I have the resources. And I know that there are other people in the community who are interested, because I had started posting a little bit more about reducing my waste on social media. And I had friends from high school who were reaching out to me. What deodorant do you use? What do you recommend for this? And really saw that there was interest in other people who cared about it as well. So during the pandemic, it was October of 2020, I had spent some time putting everything together, finding my vendors, and launched our delivery service in October. So we were able to do milkman style deliveries, and really it kind of grew our customer base. People started spreading it word of mouth. And really that's what most of our growth has been through, is word of mouth. And it came to a point where I started thinking, okay, I'd really like to get into a store where people can actually come to us and see what we have and refill the products themselves and touch the products and smell them. And I mean, there's just such a difference between in-person retail shopping and online shopping, as I'm sure so many of you know. So I was walking down the street one day in Rio Town, and I saw this storefront, and I was with my little sister, and I said, if that spot ever opened up, I would really love to be there. And I think it was a week later that one of my customers sent me a message, and she said, hey, I own this little storefront in Rio Town, and this place next to me is opening up, and I think that would be a great spot for you. And of course, it was the exact window that I had been looking into and told my sister I wanted to be in. So it kind of felt like, okay, that is a sign that this could be a really, really good place. And it moved really quickly from there. We got into this space, we did some small renovations to it, and by April, we were selling our products in person.
Question.
That's really cool. Thank you. Roberta, go ahead.
Thank you. I read about you probably about the time you opened, and I there. Um, is your website?
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time for me? I think you cut out a little bit.
Okay. I read about you, I think, about the time you were opening, and I just thought, what a phenomenal idea, and I need to be there. Could you share your website?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and put that in the chat. But it is just cleanrefillery.com. And then
Great,
something
thank
fun on
you.
our website too is we're able to do the math a little bit every quarter, so we'll check. And we update the number of containers that we've been able to keep out of the landfills or out of the recycling stream. So one of the first things you see on our website is that number since we opened, which right now I have it listed around, I believe it's 18,000, but I do know that it's more than that at this point because I have to do that math again soon.
That is so cool. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just me, it's literally everybody who comes in, everybody who supports, spreads the word. It's really like a community effort, and I've always said we'd love to be here as long as people will continue to support us and want us here. But this is kind of my funny hope with it as well. As much as I want to continue to be in Rio Town, be in Lansing, and have that as an option, my overall goal is for us to get shut down by the bigger businesses because they start doing exactly what we're doing better than we can do it. So I mean, it sounds crazy to say I would like us to be put out of business by Target, but I would love to see little mini refilleries inside of every Target. I'd love to see Meijer putting a greater emphasis on sustainability and actually taking real practices rather than greenwashing the products. But I mean, our customers who support us are showing that they're voting with their dollar. They're showing the bigger businesses what they want to see. And I'm in a Facebook group with a bunch of refillery owners throughout the US and Canada. And there are a few people who from time to time, they'll say, oh, I saw this product that I sell inside of Target and I'm considering not working with them anymore. But that's exactly what we want. Target is seeing what our customers are wanting and that sustainability is important to them and starting to incorporate that.
That is interesting.
It's it's interesting to me because I remember growing up in the 90s and going to Meijer, and there was a whole, and now this is like food and different stuff, but I remember a whole bulk section. So it's like we used to have, again, that was like food and other things, but still they did have stuff where you bought it in bulk and that you know, but clearly gotten away from that. But I remember going to Meijer. I was down in Jackson at the time, and I don't know how the other Meijers were, but there was a whole bulk section where you could buy certain foods, not in a little tiny package. But yeah, it would sure be nice if it would expand further.
Yeah, I remember that too. And I very clearly remember when they stopped doing it as well. And I think it just really shows the shift that our society has had more towards convenience rather than, I mean, even what's economical, because bulk for a long time was the economical option.
I saw recently, I could have my facts wrong, but the state of Washington just banned styrofoam. And it seems like the plastic industry is getting some well-deserved heat lately. And that, we're starting to question as we see the impacts of microplastics and just the unrecyclability of most plastic. At this timing of what you're sharing is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
important.
So many people who work in recycling share that a lot of the things that we try to recycle get thrown right into the garbage because it's not clean. It can't be sorted properly. There are so many different kinds of plastics. They're not all the same. So recycling is not a simple option and it's really not a great solution. So the things that we can do every day to reduce are really important. And there are so many things that we can do that are free as well. It doesn't always have to be expensive to be sustainable. So it's things like it sounds silly, it's things that we already know, but we have to put into practice. So bringing your own grocery bag with you when you go and get groceries. Instead of buying a new water bottle, using the water bottle that you already have, or instead of buying plastic water bottles, bringing it with you and refilling it. There are so many great refill stations around now for refilling your water bottle, or even just a sink. I'm trying to think of if anybody knows of any other free, easy solutions for that. I would love to know too, but those are the two that really come to mind quickly for me. Or bringing your own container for takeout. So lots of restaurants, if you go someplace for takeout, they won't fill it. But if you go and you eat dinner someplace, instead of asking for a to-go box, what my mom and I do, we have these little silicone containers that collapse down. And we don't even ask for a takeout container. We just scrape our food into it, pay our bill, and we go.
That's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that for the leftovers.
Yeah, and it's super easy. And truthfully, I have not had a single server say, you can't do that. Most of them are like, oh, that's a great idea. Why don't more people do that?
You just have to remember to take it in with you.
Yes, that's the hard part. And that's kind of what's nice with those collapsible ones is you can stick it in your purse once it's clean. But we do really often end up at Thai Princess out by Meridian and say, oh, shoot, we forgot our containers.
Yeah, I do
It's
that a
just,
lot with the grocery store. I go in and I never seem to take the right amount of bags with me. So
Right.
I've gotten in the habit of, filling whatever bags I took in and then loading the rest loose in my cart and then
Yeah,
putting
that's a
it in the
great idea.
bags out at the car.
That's a really great idea. And
it's just,
even for people who don't feel like they can load them loose into their cart, because I know that sometimes it's a mobility issue, instead of grabbing that plastic bag, there's usually a paper bag tucked away, and paper is something that can be recycled really easily or composted. You can tear it up, you can put it in your garden. So, I mean, that I love what I usually do is I'll put it into my cart loose and then load it into the car and take a couple trips. But if you really are needing a bag, the paper ones are usually there as an option as well.
this is Roberta. I was gonna say regarding the to-go containers, I have a handled grocery bag that hangs on a hook on my door. So as I go out, and it's full of various sizes of to-go containers. And I just, as I leave the house, I pick it up and I take it in the shop with me. And yeah. And the response has been the same as what you said, that a lot of servers just go, oh, what a good idea. No, and no one has ever said, you can't do that.
That's a great idea. That as easy as we can make it for ourselves to make the sustainable choice, I mean, that's going to be the way that you can create those habits. So that's a great idea, Roberta.
Have you met Kendra Schneider with Takeout?
Yes, she and I have spoken. I think that that is such a cool project, and I really hope it continues to grow. I know in some of the bigger cities, that's something that's really common. So places like New York, LA, San Francisco, practices like that are becoming really common. But for those of you who don't know about takeout, there are certain restaurants in the Lansing area who do takeout. And Takeout is a project where she has containers that can be reused. She sanitizes them, cleans them after use, and people kind of just create that circular economy with their takeout containers. I think I explained that pretty well, but Leroy, if you have more information than I, please share it.
I don't know much about it, and I was hoping she might join the conversation today or maybe be a future speaker. I think she got a small grant from the state to promote some of her options, and I really haven't seen them. I know Tom Carey with the market is very interested in kind of reducing the amount of waste that gets generated every Wednesday or Saturday market, and hoping to learn more about it.
Yeah, I think Takeout is such a cool project. I was super excited when she and I met and we got to talk about it a little bit. And I want to see, I think that there is a list of the restaurants that it's available at, but I'm sure she has a website or something available, but I know she's been at Veg Head in downtown Lansing. But let's see if there's any place else. She does have a Facebook page. And I'll go ahead and just share that in the comments as well. But I think that Apple Blossom Kombucha as well, Abundance Cafe. So she's really working with, it's starting to grow the list of places that she's able to connect with.
I believe Abundance Cafe is at the market on Saturday.
Great.
So you might see her on Saturday if possibly.
Yeah, I'd love to connect.
Thank you for that. What other questions or issues? That concept you mentioned about the invisible people is something kind of a surprising. I wasn't expecting you to mention that as part of your journey, but that seems like really an interesting way to think about your world differently.
Yeah, there are just so many people who we pass by without speaking to or acknowledging. I've even seen more and more barista friends who are saying, I need people to acknowledge me. When I ask you how your day is, don't just spit out your order to me. So like really treating the people around you who are doing the jobs that seem simple, or even just the people who you pass by every day, treating them like people and speaking to them and asking them questions about themselves, asking them about their day. And that's really kind of like at the heart of our business too. Everything that we do is for people and it's for future generations. The future generations are the ones who are really going to feel the effects of climate change and our choices right now, and they don't have a voice in it. So they are truly invisible people. We can't speak to them, but we can make choices that positively influence them. And then I'm just reading this comment here. Oh yes, those Trader Joe's bags are great. My little sister actually got me one for my birthday and she embroidered it with little bumblebees on it. So those ones are great. They're really, really sturdy. And yeah, as you mentioned, sturdy and washable, Kim. So those are awesome.
So if I come into Clean Refillery, will I get some coaching and counseling and sympathy for my life troubles?
For sure. We have a great staff that's in there, and something that my employees have mentioned is they really loved forming relationships with the customers. And if it's your first time coming into the shop, I do know it can be a little bit intimidating refilling. So we always have somebody there who's willing to talk you through the process, help you pick out the right product and make it as simple as possible. And then for those of you who live within 10 miles of the shop, we do local delivery. So within a 10-mile radius of Clean Refillery, we continue to do that delivery service that we started with. So you can order those things online. There's not as much variation for the sizes that you can purchase just because of the limitations of our ordering system, but you can place those orders and we're willing to drop off those things like the laundry detergent, shampoo, any of the retail products. I think we do that once a week now. So there are definitely options to make it simple for you if you feel like refilling is too complicated or hard.
I'm going to come to you, but I just looked it up. I'm 9.4 miles from you. But how does that work? Do you pick up my container and then sometime later bring it? How does that work to do that?
So what we do with deliveries is we deliver products with containers from the community cart. So we pick whichever container we feel like is best for that product, or if the customer's made a specific request, like, oh, if you have something with a pump, I would love that for this product.
Okay.
We also have a lot of customers who might not necessarily like the container we choose and decant into one that they have at home. So that's also an option if you're ever in the area. You're like, oh, shoot, I forgot my containers. You can get a container off of the community cart. You can decant that into the container that you like at home, and then you can either bring it back to us, find another use for it. But if you order another delivery from us, you're more than welcome to leave the last container that we've dropped off outside. We just ask that you clean it up as best you can beforehand because we don't have a very big sink in the back of our space. It's been a great space for us, but there are definitely some limitations to it. It wasn't made to be a refillery, so.
Are there types of containers you're looking for on your community cart?
Yeah, definitely. We love things like kombucha bottles because those are usually about a pound and they're easy to clean. We like containers with pumps, and we're really looking for things that are like 32 ounces or smaller. We don't need super big containers. And really we're pretty well stocked right now, but if you ever find like a pile of mason jars in your aunt's basement or something like that, we love mason jars. Those are probably our favorite ones to refill.
Good to know.
And then I can also share a little bit about what the in-store refilling process looks like too, because I know that that's also confusing. How do we sell by weight, but you have different containers that we're working with? So when customers come into the shop, if you have a container with you, we go ahead and we put that on the scale and we take the weight of that container, and then that will be subtracted at the end of your transaction so that you just pay for the weight of the product inside of it. And that's what allows us to sell as much or as little product as you want rather than filling up a container and measuring it a different way.
Now, when Target or Meijer puts you out of business, what are you going to do next?
What am I going to do next? Well, this isn't my only job right now. I also work as a wedding photographer. So I have a great team that helps me out on the weekends throughout the week so that I can continue to do that other job as well. But when they put us out of business, I really hope that it's just like they're truly doing the right thing. But we'll stay around as long as we can, as long as people want to continue supporting the local option.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Does anybody else have any questions for Roberta?
Yep, thanks. I'm curious if you've ever considered going into dry cat and dog food.
So at this time we haven't, because I think that there are a few options in the area. I believe that you can get dry cat and dog food at possibly Solden's, and I know you can get like cat litter at most stores in bulk right now. The main reason we haven't is because our space is so small. It's
Sure.
truly tiny, like we can barely fit the products we have in it right now. And I haven't wanted to expand into food just because I've seen a lot of the refilleries who have gone into any kind of food like pet food, human food, really struggle because there are those expiration dates that are a lot quicker that you have to pay attention to.
Okay. Well, that's great. I did not realize that anything like that was available locally. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, don't
Thank
quote
you.
me on it, but I believe that Solden's has some options. And I know that Petco and Frandor does bulk cat litter.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any products that you would like to bring in that you haven't been able to find, or is anything like that?
Yeah, so there are some products that I have a list of products that I'm wanting to bring in as well that budget-wise, we just need to wait until there's more funds for us to carry. Sorry, my dog just dropped her bone next to me. But I'd love to bring in a powder dish detergent. I've considered bringing in a powder laundry detergent too, because a lot of people seem to like it, but I love supporting Fresh Coast Clean just because they're a great local business. Let me think, what are some of the other ones? I always have a list rolling. I'd love to bring in more skincare products, products that are suited for curly hair. I just love to continue to specialize because I feel like we have a good base of products that cover the bases, but we could continue to specialize and get better with some of those. But if any of you have suggestions about products that you'd love to be able to purchase in bulk, I'd also love to know that.
Yeah, powdered laundry detergent is what I always used to use, and my son could always broke out if I had anything that had scents or dyes in it. So, I mean, he was probably 15 before I stopped using Dreft, which is kind of ridiculous, but I couldn't find anything else that would work. But you can't find, it's gotten really hard to find powdered detergents that are, you know, free and clear of dyes and scents. And that, so I've been kind of working my way through various, those detergent sheets. And I haven't quite settled on one yet. So if you have any advice on that, I'd appreciate it.
Of course, yeah. And then with the sheets too, those are kind of a controversial product and actually why we don't carry those in the shop. And it's really like whatever works for people. With the sheets, you're reducing the plastic waste by taking the plastic container out of the equation. But there have been some studies that show that there's a polyvinyl alcohol in those, and that's kind of the thing that holds them together. And there's debating opinions on whether polyvinyl alcohol dissolves in waterways or if it exists as a plastic. So that's kind of a controversial one, but it does have benefits to it because you're not buying those big plastic Tide containers every time as well.
I hadn't heard that. I'll have to look that up.
And again, it's whatever works for people. I am not somebody who is a perfectionist about reducing waste. And for a time I really had been, and I realized, okay, this isn't healthy for my mental health. It's making me hard to be around because everyone around me feels like they also need to be perfect. So it's really about finding the middle ground that works for you with it. So I am absolutely not 100% zero waste, and I don't recommend anybody trying to be because it's hard, it's expensive. To be completely zero waste is just not realistic in the world we live in right now. But finding ways that work with each of our lifestyles to reduce your waste is really, I think, important and achievable for anyone.
Awesome. I wanted to just put a plug in if you have suggestions for upcoming speakers or topics you'd like to learn more about. I'm sure you connect with a lot of people through your business, Alexa. If you've got any folks who you think might have a good story to share, we'd love to hear your ideas. You write them in the chat or email. And any other parting questions or anything related or unrelated that anyone would like to share, other than gratitude for spending time with us, Alexa?
Well, I appreciate you guys having me.
So I have a totally unrelated question. I'm considering solar panels, and I had Blue Raven come to my house. John, I don't know if you've ever heard of that company. They're, I think, national, not just local or whatever. And I wasn't sure if you had any thoughts on them. It seems very full service from beginning to end. So I wasn't sure if you'd heard anything.
Well, they excuse me. They are a national firm, and I have a bias toward kind of local firms in Michigan, kind of based companies. But yeah, I haven't heard anything good or bad about them. But I know they've been pretty active.
Okay, thank you.
We do have a list of contractors who've been vetted, local contractors, and be happy to share that list. Always recommend getting a couple of bids at least, and different perspectives. And
we do have a Solarize meeting coming up. Do you remember the date? Sponsored by the city of Lansing, but also open to anybody in the kind of greater Lansing area for the introduction to solar and the potential for the group discount. So that's coming up sometime in September, right, Lori?
that rings the bell. I don't have it right in front of me, but yeah, good way to get a discount. Sort of the bulk buying option for solar, if you will, if there is such a thing, because the contractor who's assisting is getting several jobs in that vicinity, so they don't have to do as much.
It's going to be on Zoom, and it's going to be Tuesday, September 17th at 7 o'clock. For the next, and I think the last Solarize meeting in the Lansing area, because we just had one in East Lansing. Oh yeah, that's September 17th.
And
And
John,
there'll
do you
be
know
there'll be
where,
promotions going out.
John, do you know where a link to that could be found?
Let's see, good question. Actually, and I think this will be true for the next one. Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association has been doing registrations for Solarize meetings. And that website is the three W's, glrea.org, Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association. So I think you should be able to find the information there once, the promotional material has been developed. But right now, if you went there, I think you just see the information about the recent East Lansing one.
Thank you.
Now, if somebody missed the East Lansing one on July 10th, can they still be part of that cohort? Do you know?
Well, that's a good question. Let me think about that. July, because you need to request the actually you could probably still get in on it because the way they work is that a week after the meeting, by then the participants have to request an on-site visit, which is just, we're a week from the meeting. And so, yeah, you could contact Absolute Solar, the sooner the better, to become part of that group because the next step is a free on-site consultation and development of a specific proposal for your specific house. Let's see, and I think the email probably is fred@absolutesolar.com. Does that sound right, Leroy?
That sounds close. They are going to be at the Green Fair, but it's a couple days away, so it might take you out of that week window.
But you can always talk to them at the Green Fair and see if they can sneak you in. Because they're going to take a couple weeks to actually do the on-site visits and the development of proposals. So, I wouldn't be surprised if you talk to them on Saturday that they'd be willing to kind of sneak you in if you're interested.
Yes, fred@absolutesolarpower.com.
He's the guy. He's the coordinator. Yep. absolutesolarpower.com.
Any other comments? Brian? I don't know if it's appropriate for this group, but Brian mentioned there's an upcoming planning meeting where they're talking about future topics of focus in the coming year. Do you want to mention that?
The Planning Commission meeting on August 22nd didn't have any agenda items. So I said to the Planning Commission a few weeks ago, hey, you don't have any agenda items. You'd want to cancel the meeting, or did you just want to get together and talk? And that was a stupid thing to say because that's like, oh, hey, let's get together and discuss some stuff. Okay. So I've got some proposed topics, but if there's something that, especially master plan related, that you want me to bring up to the Planning Commission, shoot me an email and I can easily bring it up just as a discussion. I can't promise any action or anything like that, but it's just a meeting for bringing things onto the Planning Commission's radar for future discussion. That's it.
Hey, Brian, this is Kim.
Yeah.
I didn't make it last night, but do you have any idea how the community center meeting went?
I don't. I haven't seen Tim this morning. I was busy with stuff before this meeting. Maybe I'll get an update later.
Okay.
My wife and I attended the community center meeting yesterday, and it was basically they had a big poster of the conceptual design and a few bullet points about what they were trying to do. But it was not really, nobody presented anything. They were just there to answer questions. So it looks kind of cool, the design that they have set up.
Bruce, they're still looking in the Yonkers site, right? That's
Yes, yeah,
what the
that's
conceptual drawings were about.
Yep.
Okay.
And Yonkers is a two-story section of the mall, and they're only going to utilize part of the 2 stories for a double basketball court. The rest of the second story is kind of like white space right now.
Did people seem to be in favor of it? I think it's a great idea, but I just couldn't make it last night.
Yeah. I think the general mood was positive. There were a few grumbling people, who's going to pay for this kind of thing, but I think there's actual funding in the works from the state for part of it. So it's
next Wednesday.
for the senior centers sections of it. It's those are kind of separate from some of the other spaces. There's meeting spaces. There's a room with a stage. They were talking about utilizing some of it for like wedding receptions and things like that. It's kind of an interesting use of the mall space that's unused right now.
Isn't it basketball court / pickleball court too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and volleyball.
Okay.
It can be utilized. It's going to be lined out for all three
When
of
I was
those.
when I was at the township meeting, the listening session, I think people are really on board with it, but it's all about getting it paid for. And so that's going to definitely be the struggle. But
Yeah.
They've got a $5 million grant that they have to get it. They have to have started it by a certain date. I wanted to say it was like 2025. But yeah, it's going to be about funding.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I believe they had to own the property too. It wasn't something they could lease. So I'm curious how that works with a space at the mall.
They buy it. It's a separate parcel.
Yeah, I
The
think
mall,
one of the
mall
big,
is sectioned up into different parcels.
yeah,
Oh.
one
Not
of
each
the
individual store, but sorry.
one of the big retailers there, I believe, owns their spot at I think Macy's.
Just one random thought. We talk about businesses and such. Do you have many business customers, Alexa? And do you do like I'm thinking Meridian Township probably uses some chemicals that you could supply cleaners and stuff. I'm just thinking, do you ever go doing it like a waste audit for businesses or know someone who does that?
So we don't do waste audits now, but we do, as I mentioned earlier, we have those small business subscriptions. So we actually provide cleaning supplies for Yoga Connect Hazlet. So that's pretty near where the market is. And then we have a list of other ones throughout the greater Lansing area. I think we probably have about, I want to say 8 subscriptions right now. And really just trying to help small businesses make sustainable choices affordably. So we do offer a discount for those small businesses who subscribe as well. I'm not really familiar with businesses in the area who are doing audits or like consulting or anything like that, but that's definitely something that could be helpful.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? If not, you guys have a great week. Thank you again, Alexa, for your inspiring chat. and all your good questions, everybody.
Thank you guys so
That's-
much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alexa.
Thanks, Alexa.
See some of you next week. with the-
Bye.